What's going on, metalheads? This is Jamie and this is the Blades and EDC channel, and today I have a review for you for the Sencut Honoris. And as you can see by looking at this knife, or the blades specifically, I have put this knife through its paces. And I'm going to tell you a little story about, well, first off, let me tell you how I tested this knife. I do carpentry work, right? And the way I've been testing my knives is for 2 weeks, a knife is replacing my razor blade that is normally in my tool belt, and I'm using a knife instead of a razor blade. Well, it's been 8 business days, so almost 2 work weeks that I've carried this knife. And this one really got put through the paces, as you can tell by that coating on the blade. That is one downside. The coating on this blade is not held up very well. But the blade itself, man, I'm still in shock. Let me tell you what happened recently. So doing this remodel, or not a remodel, an addition on the back of this customer's house, and one of the rooms is the customer's office, and we put 8 windows in that room, 4 on one wall on the side of the house, and then across the back 4 on that wall. And these windows are 2050 windows, 2 feet wide, 5 feet tall. 4 right next to each other, and then 4 right next to each other on the other wall. It's basically like a sunroom, but it's going to be his office. Well, in the original blueprints, they were drawn up, and the framers framed them as the blueprint said, where they were going to be 26 inches off the floor, the bottom of the window. Well, go out there and install these windows, and the next day, the owner calls and says, "Well, I need you to change these windows. They're going to be below my desk." And I go to his house, meet with him, and in his office, current office, which is basically like a bedroom, he's got this beautiful mahogany desk in there, and this is a family heirloom. Well, this desk is 30 inches tall, and he doesn't want the windows to be, and in this room, the way it's built, the wall that has the door that enters the room has some shelving going in, and the other wall has shelving going in. The other 2 walls are all windows, so he's going to be facing his desk towards against one of those walls where the windows are at. So he doesn't want the windows below the door. So we have to take these windows out, reframe them, and put them back in. And this knife was used to assist in removing those windows. And if you've ever installed windows, well, it's different per state, I'm sure. You got different codes you have to follow, but we use this tar tape on the outside. There's metal nailing fins that go all the way around. You put nails through those fins, and then you put silicone. Then you do that, and you put the windows in, nail the fins in. Then you put this tar tape around all 4 sides, and that tar tape, you can't peel it off. There is no peeling it off. You got to cut it loose, and you take the Tyvek with it and everything. Pain in the ass. But this knife was used to cut out all of those windows. I had to cut through the Tyvek, or the tape and the Tyvek, against these aluminum metal fins that have nails every 8 inches with probably 3/8 inch heads on the nails. And I'm cutting through around all these windows to cut that tape loose to get these windows out so we could reframe them and reinstall them. This knife was used for all that. And this edge, I haven't sharpened it since I did it. I haven't sharpened this knife since I did that. It's not going to be super sharp, okay? I don't think it's going to be super sharp, but I was just feeling it, and I'm just shocked. Actually, it's still pretty sharp. It really is. It's got a little catch here and there, and I can feel a couple spots, but I literally hit the heads and nails and hit those metal fins many times, removing those 8 windows. This edge is held up incredibly well. I mean, I'm like in shock. And this is 9CR 18 MOV steel. I don't know what the HRC rating is on it, but man, it must be pretty hard. This must be some pretty hard steel. I've looked on the website to try to figure out what that rating is, and nothing says what it is, and I can't find where anyone has tested it. So I can't tell you 100% for sure what it is. What I can tell you is this steel will take a freaking beating. I mean, I'm so surprised. I thought for sure, you know, every day. I mean, after I'd hit the metal a couple times, you can feel it when you hit the metal. I'd get done and I'd do like this and try to find a chip or a fold in the edge or something. Never folded. Never folded. So, all right. Let's give you some size comparisons here. That's one thing you're definitely going to know about this knife. Here's the Penguin. Most important thing is how good that steel is. I'm shocked how good the steel is. And here's the Para 3. These are a couple that most people will have one variation or another of. Give you a good idea of the size. It's a good size knife. Here's my only other Sencut knife, the Bronte, which is also fantastic. And I did the same thing with the Bronte for 2 weeks, although I didn't have to cut any windows out of walls or cut the tape and the tie back and everything with the Bronte. But I did use it at work quite a bit, and it same steel held up great. It's held up great. You can tell I used this one harder for sure just by looking at the coating on the blades. You know, this one went through a lot of cardboard and stuff, but I never had to do any serious cutting with this Bronte like I did this Honoris. But they are the same steel. So what's another one? Here's a full-size sheepdog for you. Give you a better idea on size. About the same length overall. Obviously, the sheepdog is much wider, but yeah, it's a full-size knife, or what I would consider to be a full-size knife. And it is the micarta feels really good. It's holding up very well. Around the edges, I guess that's where my hands hit more. You see how it's getting darker right around the edges, on all edges pretty much, except up here because I don't really get my hands up here, but up here. The pocket clip, the coating on it, you can see is starting to wear a little bit, but again, this knife has been in and out of my tool belt, not just my pocket, my tool belt, leather tool belt, probably 1,000 times in the past 2 weeks. Works great, and still at the end of the day it comes out of my tool belt and goes into my jeans pocket. Perfect, no problems whatsoever. The clip itself is not flush mounted, but it does have flush mounted screws, and you don't feel any resistance going in or out of the pocket with the clip. It's fantastic. Give you some measurements, or actually just give you some stats on the knife real quick. It is a flat ground blade. Handle is micarta. There are multiple versions of this. You can get this in a wood version too, which looks very similar to the wood used on the Civivi Chevalier, I believe is the name of it. That African rosewood, or Chiabortia, I think is what it's called. Something of that nature. Blade length is 3.47 inches. Close length is 4.44 inches. Overall length is 7.91 inches. It weighs 3.15 ounces. It's very lightweight. Very lightweight. Feels very lightweight. And deep carry pocket clip, black stonewash finish. Blade thickness is 120 thousandths. And I don't know what it is behind the edge, but it's a flat grind up to that swedge up here at the top. And that's the most the thing about this knife for me is how well this edge is held up. I'm shocked. You're not gonna hear me gush too much about steel like this, because it's rare that I put a knife through this much torture. You know, I don't go out and intentionally try to torture my knives at work. I just use them for day-to-day tasks, right? Well, unfortunately, we came across a task that was it was hell. I put this knife through hell, literal hell, and it held up fantastically. Had this been a regular stonewash blade or satin blade, you probably wouldn't see as much damage on the blade. You may see a little scratch here and there if you turn it in the light right. That's the only real damage I can find. There is a couple little spots in this blade that I can feel, but again, I have not sharpened this. I've stropped it, done nothing to this blade since I cut through all that tape, hitting those metal nailing fins and the heads of those nails. Not just those, but also heads of 8-penny nails that were nailing the plywood into the studs when I missed, you know, it's hard to explain what I was doing. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I couldn't really record what I was doing, but man, I wish I would have recorded it. There is a recording of me cutting through that tar tape when we were originally installing these windows. There's a reel on Instagram the first time we installed them before we had to remove them and reinstall them. So yeah, this knife is fantastic. Sencut so far is killing it for me. This one and the Bronte. I like the Bronte more just because of the fidget factor and the blade shape. I would assume that the Bronte, the edge on this will hold up the same as this, but I can't say that for sure. It is the same steel, same manufacturer. Knives came out relatively close to the same time frame, so I'm going to assume it's treated the same way as that. But yeah, I want to get another one. I want the wood handled one with the stonewash blade. Not for work though, just to add to my collection or to carry as, you know, more of a weekend carry. Something else to talk about this knife, the action. Action's fantastic. Look at this. This is not a heavy knife. 3 ounces. A very lightweight blade. It has the hole so you can reverse flick. You can thumb flick very easily. And it does also have a flipper tab, but it's not a very large flipper tab, so it doesn't get in your way if you're, you know, doing anything else. That's one thing I don't like about a lot of flipper tabs is if you're trying to thumb flick and you get your finger in the wrong way, if it's a big flipper tab, it'll hit your finger, cause you problems. This one does not do that at all. Flipper tabs never got in the way of reverse flicking or thumb flicking this knife. Yeah, it's fantastic. And the action, as you can see, is great. Now I have disassembled this knife, and I did oil this knife shortly after I got it. Haven't done it since, and look at it. Blade is dead nut centered, and no blade play whatsoever. Maybe ever so slightly hint left or right. I can feel a little something. I don't know if I'm bending something or if it's the blade moving, but yeah, it's nothing. I'm nitpicking by even bringing it up. Up and down, there's nothing. The detent, watch this. Pop. It just sucks it right in there. And once it's in there, there's a tiny bit of movement, but very, very little. Detent is tuned perfectly. And this is made by Wiha, so, you know, that shouldn't surprise anyone. I think, you know, this is their budget brand. By budget brand, they're using the 9CR18 MOV still, but it's still probably being made in the same place. They put a different brand on it because of that still is the only thing I can figure. It's great. It's fantastic. Yeah, and the steel, that is the star of the show with this knife, how well this steel has held up to a freaking beating. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to sell you anything. This steel has held up to a freaking beating and just keeps going. It holds its edge unbelievably well. I'm shocked. I've always heard 9CR18 MOV's a budget steel, not a very good steel. Well, you know, buy this and test it if you believe that. Put this knife to the test and tell me this is not great steel. This steel is fantastic. Alright guys, that's going to do it. I will link this knife below if you want to pick one up. If not, I understand. If you don't like this, Sencut has other models that's using the same steel, like the Bronte, and there's a couple other ones, I can't remember the name of them. Pick one of those up. Fantastic knives. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.